Morning, everyone. My name is Christine, and with me today I have lovely Kyle.
Hello,
And
everyone.
good morning. And what we're doing today is the program called Back to Basics. And we are going to share with you some of the most simplest ways to help us to navigate through life where we think is what we think is complicated. And, I always hear from clients, why does life keep repeating itself? So, Kyle, the lovely soul that he is going to share some of his experiences that might help you to understand that we all survive. So, good morning, Kyle, and thank you so much for joining me. And I
Good
know you
morning,
have
Christine.
some ideas in your head, but what we were talking about before was, I thought, was very valuable. And I don't know if you remember, but let's just try and see if we can pick up that thread again.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah, we'll find it somewhere along the way. Brilliant. Shall I just kick off then and just
Just kick off and go for it.
yeah, sure. So I guess I can start with some backstory, I suppose, because we all deal with some shit in life, right? We all do. But I like to think that shit is also fertilizer as well. So it's not just the what that matters, it's how you use it and leverage it. So what was my shit is the question. So when I was growing up, originally I was born in a single parent family and in a sort of council estate in Wales. And in that kind of environment, it doesn't really give you a lot of confidence or ambition. And a lot of people, they grow up feeling a sense of lack, really, in many ways. And in school, long story short, I dealt with quite a lot of bullying. A key theme in my life has been self-doubt. And in particular, I was very young, around about 7 years old. I had a teacher who was a very authoritarian, oppressive type, and he would yell a lot, like yell in my face. He'd be like this big angry tomato. So I'd be in the classroom, and a big theme was wanting to escape because you couldn't, just up and leave, right? So I was always kind of feeling like kind of disconnected, like I couldn't trust anyone, peers or authority figures. And so, long
So
story short,
how did
yeah.
you deal with that bullying? What did because I know this is something really, it goes on daily everywhere, not just in schools. So how long did it take you to move through that?
A long time, to be honest with you. It kind of got gradually less worse over time. So I was in primary school, I just spend quite a bit of time on my own or with a certain select few peers. One memory I do recall is being at like a PE lesson. And I was kind of just in the playground on my knees, and there's like a little ant colony amongst the gravel. I was staring at that for a while. But um, I think that quite a lot of it was avoidance, really. And then in high school, it became a bit more of like a clique sort of thing, right? So you got like the bullies and the bullied. And that was also a bit of a powerless relationship, right?
But how
Um,
have you resolved that?
how did I resolve that?
Yeah, because so this is where I'm going to. It's like you grew up in a situation where you were being constantly bullied. But how did you move through that to be in a place where you can look at it and say, okay, I understand it. It taught me this. I got it.
Right. So we're going to zip ahead many years now then to
Yes.
roughly May last year, then in this case. So I opened up this book called The Wisdom of the Enneagram, and there was a little snippet of text in that that said, "Oh, you don't have to identify with your feelings and thoughts." And I was like, "What? Really?" So this intrigued me, and in that book was an exercise um, where basically you lay down peacefully and you just breathe deeply, and you'll have some residue from the trauma, right? So, for example, around that time, I was always worried around people. What do they think of me, and so on. So that past is still lingering there, and that's how trauma affects people. Um, you'll have like these issues and concerns, and you'll be like, I don't know why this is. I just feel weird. You're not weird. Stuff happened to you, and you just got to work through it.
Right.
So when you're in that peaceful, calm state, then, and you kind of just ask yourself gently the question, why do I feel this way? Your your body and your inner self will kind of whisper and suggest those answers to you. And you've just got to be open and willing to explore it, and just know that you're in a safe place. And what happened after that, what I realized in that exercise was, oh, this all came from the past, and I'm no longer in that situation anymore. And just that realization made me feel a lot more at peace. I was at work dealing with this issue, like, oh my God, feeling like I didn't belong. I came in the next day and I felt a lot more confident. I felt a lot more like I belonged. So making that connection between your present and your past is a really great way to kind of begin to heal yourself. Yeah.
But what did you discover about yourself through that whole process? If you went back and you looked at it and you said, okay, there I was being abused, and seeing it from a different perspective, what did you derive from that? Have you
Mm,
got that now, or is it still hovering that wants to be
mm. I'm not sure if I fully have the answer to that, but I would
so let's
say,
do it.
okay, here we go. Yeah.
So
Um,
see it, see that situation where you were,
mm, mm,
and see it as being bullied, but now see it from your eyes.
yeah, right. I would I would say that, oh yes, 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 of course. Yeah. Um, I'm very strong, very resilient, um, able to cope a lot and independent. So that's been a bit of a curse, and also quite a bit of my gift as well, is that resilience that came from all of that.
So go back to that and see him,
Right.
and let him know. Tell him, do you know how strong and resilient you are?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
does that feel?
Appreciate
how
it.
how does he feel?
Warm.
Yeah, because this
Appreciates
is
it. It's the
yeah,
truth.
this is an aspect of you. It's kind of like saying, I see you, but I don't see you. It's like you acknowledge that aspect of you, but you're only partially acknowledging it.
Mm,
So when you sink into that aspect and say, wow, do you realize, because of your resilience, we got through this? It might not look like we got through it, but I just realized, you have just realized in this second how resilient, and we're back into courage again.
right. Right.
Do you see the power of that? I mean, so this is what I'm saying. It's like we kind of think we get it, and then we get to the point where we're going, well, maybe we don't really have all the nuggets that are associated with that, because then it does. This is where your domino effect comes. It goes and it just shoots right through everything, and it kind of
Right.
lights up your whole highway of information and knowledge with it's like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, I guess it was kind of like, yeah, you don't really give the credit where the credit's due. It's like, oh, you're resilient. Oh, yeah, duh, that's me. But it's like, no, no, but we're here now because of that. Like, thank you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Thank you. And it goes both ways. And as you said, it is like a Christmas tree lighting up. That's a perfect
yeah,
metaphor.
because everything inside of you went.
Yeah.
Because this is where from, and this is so basic. This is not something that you have to sit there with a knife and fork and dissect it and cut it up into little teeny pieces and figure it all out. No, this is just going into it and seeing it from, because when you're in pain, it's hard to see it. When
Mm.
you're submerged in it, you can't see what's behind it. So it's kind of like you really do. It's like you stick it up on a stage and you say, what is there exactly? But this is also being honest with yourself and saying, oh my gosh, you know, it's like, wow. Because then it just, so it's going to, so moving through all that and taking that with you, your resilience and your courage, it's just it's not something to take lightly. I mean, that's massive.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that everybody's got that in them, the resilience and courage to pursue
Yes,
what is really meaningful to them in
yes,
life. It shows up in so many different ways.
yeah,
Um, and it is about not alienating yourself. It's about having a compassionate relationship with all of the versions of you from the past. It's all you. It's all stacked up onto each other.
yeah.
And that's the only reason we can be here. Yeah. Mm.
Well, what you just said was brilliant, because you see, it, we don't see ourselves as where we've come from. I mean, when I look at my life and what I've lived through, I don't even know. I don't even know how I even survived it. Yet I have. And I know that everything that I went through has just given me the strength and the courage to stand in my light and to speak my truth, to be my truth.
Mm.
So it's and this is why I feel that um, so many people get lost, because they're caught up in this. Yeah, but you got to do this and you got to do that and do. But the simplest thing that you just shared is huge.
Mm.
So it's just, as you said, it's valuing who you are.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Warts and all. Not that there are any warts, right? They're all beauty spots. Right? Yeah, yeah. No, I completely agree. And the simplest thing, really, of all is to sit back, breathe, and give yourself that compassion, that love. Emotions like guilt and shame are things that are acquired. That's not your essence. That's someone else talking through you. That's not you talking.
Right.
But when you're in that mindful space and you're open and honest with yourself and compassionate too, that gives that room for the real you to reveal the answers and those threads of
Right.
how you came to feel those negative feelings about yourself, which are really the flip side to the amazing parts about yourself.
Yeah.
And if I give um, a quick example. So, for example, if I felt that I was lonely when I was younger or that I was weird, well, it's also the case that I'm a pretty unique person. I'm pretty independent, not just in my behavior, but also in how I see the world, right? If I hadn't been that way, then I would have been more like kind of enmeshed with other people. And it's harder to be yourself in that case.
That's
And
true.
that's
Yeah.
why it was needed. Mm.
Yeah. And that's a good point, because I never really looked at it that way, because I spent a lot of time by myself, me and my horses, and Yeah, and yeah, because for me, it was always trying to fit in. And what did I have to do to fit in? And as you said before, it's, well, why do we need to do that? It's why? Because we feel we need to be loved and wanted, but then we lose our own identity, and we miss
Mm.
all the jewels that are sitting in front of us and within us that just want to be acknowledged and loved and embraced by ourselves. And we can only do that. No one else can do that for us.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, nothing else to add to that. It's perfect.
Yeah, so you go through life, and as you said, it's just everything shows up and it's there for a reason, but it's also to perfectly said, just stop and breathe and go, okay, what is about this? And not, because what we typically do is we run away from it, or we
Yeah.
keep pointing fingers and saying, yeah, but it's because of you or what you said or you did that I'm here. That's why I did this, is but it's whenever you get in that place, it's to stop and say, why do I keep doing that too?
Yeah, absolutely. We call that projection, which is where, it's oh, metaphor coming to mind. Mm, yeah, for sure, Susan, for sure. It's that's the route to wholeness right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, why do we project and why do we run away from these negative emotions? Well, it's because it's pretty difficult, and it makes total sense, why people would want to do that, and why they'd want to see it outside of themselves. The opposite way is to go within and realize that you do the same thing yourself. You might not do it the same way as the people you're judging outside, but you do it in some way, shape, or form. Oh, they're a liar. What, you haven't told a lie in your life? You know? So yeah, we're always running about in this outer world,
Yeah.
you could say, losing ourselves and yet trying to find ourselves at the same time. Kind of like a hamster on the wheel. And you've got to slow that wheel down by being present in order to hop off that wheel and stop going through the cycles.
Well, you said something that was interesting, and it's, when someone says, yeah, but they're liars, or I don't trust anybody, you have to catch yourself there and say, oh my gosh, that just came out of my mouth. So what am I lying to myself about? What is it I don't trust within myself? You see, everything is a reflection of who you are. And if you stop and think about it and just be with what's being said and not take it personally, and say, this is another jewel sitting here, a diamond in the rough, and I need to take it and absorb it and say, how do I heal this within me so I'm not having to say it anymore? But
Yeah.
but instead, what we do is like he, she, hit, it, and it just, flies around the board, and you never get anywhere because you're constantly putting your energy into either moving away from it because you don't want to deal with it,
Right.
or it's so much easier. We're not taught this in school. Could you just imagine what life would be like if we were taught that, hey, if an emotion comes up and you're having a struggle with it, why don't you just sit down and have a conversation with it? What?
Yeah.
What do you mean
Right.
have a conversation with my anger? Well, yeah, why not?
Yeah, you absolutely can. And yeah, you're right. Emotional first aid and self-awareness are incredibly important topics to learn. There's also another route as well. Funny example came just yesterday. So still on this journey myself.
Aren't
Another
we
way to do
all?
it is to have is not just have the courage to turn inward, but if you like to, you can have the courage to turn outward. So that means maybe having difficult but honest conversations with other people about your feelings. Um, so the other day, I'm new to university. I'm just meeting my flatmates, and one of the ones I get along best with now. She's awesome. When we first met each other in the kitchen, she seemed kind of disinterested in talking. I thought, oh, maybe She doesn't want to like know me, sort of thing. And we got talking later on, and I could never have imagined this. And this is the beauty of this way of doing it as well. What she thought of me was she thought that I was some like Russian model or something and couldn't speak English very well, so she didn't bother to talk with me. So it was funny clearing that up with her.
But you
Yeah,
see, again, this is how we not only, because everything's a reflection of who we are. So she's reflecting you and you're reflecting her.
right.
So again, it's coming back to the consciousness and saying, okay, this thought just came into my head about that person. I'm not sure what that's about, but I think it's me. So let's move through it right now and go to that person and say, hi. It's taking things in the simplest form, you know? So just say, for example, if you hadn't even done that and she went on her merry way and you went on your merry way and you never saw each other till the last day of school and you turn out you're the best of buddies, but you ignored each other for a whole year.
Right, I know, what a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So absolutely, if perhaps the deeper technique is going within,
Yeah.
but if you're willing to just have these straightforward conversations, doing it from outside as well can
Yeah.
quickly show you the BS that you're projecting outwards. And it all brings us together, right? It all helps us to see that we're all kind of struggling in this world
Yes.
to relate to ourselves and others. So it's really needed.
Yeah. I mean, it's perfect what you said, because it's about conversation. How can you move through anything without a conversation? I mean, even this conversation, the simplest conversation we're having right now. I mean, I'm discovering things about myself through you, which I kind of knew, but I didn't know, So it's everything that you do is a key to helping you dive deeper into your knowingness. So
Mm.
it's so powerful to, yeah, you said it, get off this treadmill, stop and say, okay, what went on today that I wasn't paying attention to?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And yeah, perfect, Susan, what you're just saying. You can accept yourself fully, you can accept others fully. Just yeah, perfect. So many people want to get in there and rearrange someone's noses, or why don't you get your hair cut or change your clothes? What Just accept people for who they are, because then you accept yourself.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And that's all what we want. And we all have this essence in us that doesn't want to be projected onto. It wants to be free and to be
Yes.
itself. So when you come in kind of all bossy boots, oh, I think you should do this. Have you tried that? And so on, right? Yeah. Boss in boots.
Love it.
When you do that, there's kind of that inner resistance that comes from the person. You can have like a married couple, some husband is like, oh, she never listens to me. She keeps making like, she does her own thing and keeps making the same mistakes or whatever. And she might feel that he's trying to control her, right?
Yes.
And the reason for that is because they're not asking questions of what they both really want. So the key really, for example, to going within is asking yourself questions. Do I
Is
really
what do
believe
you
this
want?
is
What do
true?
you need? Yeah.
Yeah. And the same then with other people. Before we kind of dive in and hop into providing solutions, ask as many good questions as you can to really see where they're at, what they're feeling, what they need, and what they want, and how you can kind of best help them to get there in a way that works for them, just as you would have for yourself.
Yeah. No, I think it's important that we just move through life taking care of ourselves and not trying to fix the world. And if you feel like you need to fix the world, then maybe that's where you need to begin with yourself, because you are your own world.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's so what what I'd like to, because I don't like to do this too long, but maybe wind it down a bit. Do you have anything, Kyle, that you would like to share that would help, something that is rather simple and easy, or any tidbit of information, or nothing at all?
Hmm. I would say I go back to the technique that I discovered that made me fully realize that I don't have to attach to my thoughts and feelings. And it's something that we kind of come back to again and again and again, because it's quite easy to get back on that treadmill. It has a magnetic pull, which gets
Yes,
weaker the more you work on it, but
right.
you do end up back on it. So what I would suggest is take a moment, a little bit of time today to be peaceful, relax, and just think of something that maybe um, got you out of balance that day, and just gently discover why that was the case and see what answers come up and explore them with openness and non-judgment, and see what emotions and parts of you might be looking to express themselves under the surface.
Ah, lovely. Thank you. That was lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you too, Christine. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, thank you, and so grateful for the people that stayed in and listened, and for those that will on the recording. Thank you so much, and have a brilliant day, everybody. And thanks, Mr. Kyle. We will connect with you another day, another time. Bye, everybody. Blessings and much love from my heart to yours.
Bye, everyone. Take care.